Hello students, this is your English lesson. Today we are going to read a unit number 6, The Ant Line from Oxford Modern English, Book 8. So we start our lesson. First of all, words to know. Arena, central part of a stadium in which contests take place. Scardius, transparent, winged, shrill chirping insects. Contours, outlines, dexterous, deft, clever, dimensions, size, length, breadth, and height of something. Dingo, Australian wild dog, enraptured, delighted intensely, frantically, in a wild, excited manner, frenziedly, widely, as if in a panic. Gingerly, with extreme caution so as to avoid making a noise or injuring oneself or what is touched. Obstinate, stubborn, persistently continuing determinedly, relentless, not becoming less stern, not yielding, ruthlessly, in a pitiless way, spasmodic, jerky, in fits and starts, treacherously, deceptively, the ant thinks the sand will stay still, but it doesn't. He can't get out, he can't get a hold of it, Morvina cried. She thrust suddenly with the end of a twig, trying to push the ant up the shifting sand slope of the pit. But her brother, lying opposite her, filled his cheeks with air and blew hard. The ant fell back to the pit bottom, and in a moment the little fury of jaws burst out at it, seized it, vanished again. Only a flurry, a small swirling mass of something, flurry of sand in the bottom of the little pit marked for a few seconds the ant's last struggle. The two children sat up slowly, breathing again. They looked at each other with a kind of guilt. Mac's face was quite red. Morvina's mouth was open. How many would he kill? I wonder, Mac said. That's there. We have given him. But they were all little ones. I will get a meat ant and see what he does. Oh no, Max, don't. I don't want you to. Morvina clenched her hands. But she could not help looking round in the grass for the meat ant track that led to the ant hill farther up the slope. Max went across to it holding his twig and bent down. Morvina gave a scream. If you do, Maxie, I will kill the lion. I will, truly. Don't you dare, Max said. It's the first ant lion we have ever seen, and we might never find another. I want to show it to everyone. He came back, holding his twig gingerly and turning it from end to end as the red ant rushed along it. Meat ants could bite. Now I will put it in, he said. Look, move. He shook the twig hard over the little pit, but the ant was obstinate, stubborn, refusing to change one's opinion, and clung, hold on tightly, angry, intent. He finally dislodged it with the blade of grass. Morvina sat with her hands over her eyes. No, I won't look, she said. It's awful of you. But the ant was in the pit. Morvina peered through the crack between her fingers and saw it. It looked big and strong, frizzly, pulling down the sand of the slope in its struggle to escape. Perhaps it might get away. Morvina took down her hands and leaned forward. In their minds, the ant and its arena of battle enlarged and filled the whole world. Under the sand at the pit bottom crouched the lion. Crouch to bend your knees and lower yourself. waiting for the ant to slide down a little farther. But this one was so big, bigger than the ant lion itself. Max said, "Now we will see some sport." The ant was puzzled at the sand that slipped so treacherously and persistently away as it climbed. It stopped, slit went down almost to the bottom. For a moment there was a star in the sand there, and Morvina jumped. The ant might have seen it too. At any rate, it gathered all its strength and made a rush at the slope. The sand slid quickly, but the ant was determined. He had almost reached the top. Good ant, Morvina cried, but Max pushed with his twig and down went the ant to the bottom. For a moment nothing happened. "It's too big," Max said, and his lips pursed. The two children started down, lying on their stomachs, heads almost together. The ant hesitated and began to struggle up against the slope. But now the ant lion moved quick, dexterous. It thrust its stumpy forelegs from the sand and began to jerk its head, heavy and tool-like. Sand flew up, hindering the big ant, setting the walls, slipping down. "Ah!" Max breathed. "Look at that now." The ant slipped and slipped, staying in one place. It was growing tired, but it was clearly in a panic. Its legs worked frantically. The hot shadow of the tree above moved across and across. The cicadas filled the afternoon with their monotonous shrill. The battle swayed. Morvina moved aside. Her rib was against the knotted root of the tree, and as she moved, Max gave a shout of triumph. "Oh, what happened?" She thrust him aside and peered down. The ant lion had seized the meat ant by one leg. Those relentless tool jaws hung on like the jaws of a dingo harassing a sheep. The ant, caught at last, was putting out a desperate effort. His free legs thrashed wildly. He made a little headway, but the weight of the grub like creature braced against him was too much and he could find nothing to grip. "I ought to save him," Morvina thought. "I to let mother would ought not to let mother would call it cruelty to animals, but she no longer wanted to put down her twig, even if Max would let her. In ram shamed enraptured, she clung to the tree root with one hand and started down. The ant grew weaker, slower, his struggles more spasmodic. The ant lion saw his chance now. He released the leg and made for the ant's body, seizing him by the abdomen. There was a wild scurry in the pit now, the ant rearing in the fontaining sand. They could see those shovel jaws working. The silence was the strangest thing Morna thought. Round them the afternoon continued. A vague tail hopped on the fence. Other ants ran placidly about their business. The creek below made its endless liquid noise over the rocks, but to the two children all had shrunk to the dimensions of the pit, and the creatures in it, engaged in their soundless struggle, plunged and reared enormous. The golden air should have been full of their shrieks and groanings. Now the ant fell. All was over. His waist almost severed, his legs que- quivering in the air, he lay helpless. How quickly, how ruthlessly the ant lion pulled him down, avoiding the last kicks of those thin, useless legs, touching him, severing abdomen from body, hiding him in the sand to serve for laughter where the other ants lay. The creature seemed like a little machine, a tool for some energy that possessed him. Hideous, swift, he sent a shudder through Morvina as she watched him. Slowly, slowly the ant lion and his victim sank into the sand. Now they were only humps of sand covered. Now they had vanished. They lay the pit still and innocent, its contour unchanged. Max sat up slowly. His eyes looked large and dark. Are you going to put in another? Morvina asked. She half hoped, half feared it. No, Max said. He stood up, not looking at the pit or at Morvina. Enough is enough. Are you going to bring Harry down and show it to him? Morna persisted. Oh, stop it, said Max. He stood uncertainly for a moment, detaching himself from the scene, from the afternoon, from Morvina. Then he set off down the creek bank, running faster and faster. Morvina stood hesitant, hesitating. Morna stood hesitating, then she too began to run. At last they stopped far from the pit, exhausted and panting. What shall we do now? Morna said. Exercises A. Comprehension 1. Answer the following questions. A. In the first paragraph of the story, what are the two children trying to do? Answer is, in the first paragraph of the story, Morvina tries to push the ant up the slope away from the ant lion and Max blows it down to the ant lion. B. How do we know that Morvina is not too keen on continuing the activity that she and her brother are engaged in? Answer is, we know that Morvina is not too keen on continuing the activity that she and her brother are engaged in because she tells Max not to get any more ants. She says she won't watch anymore and covers her eyes. See, how do we know that the children are completely absorbed in watching the meat ant being attacked by the ant lion? Choose two sentences from different paragraphs which tell us that their concentration was directed towards the battle alone. Answer is evidence to show that the children are completely absorbed in watching the meat ant being attacked by the ant lion. The two children started down, lying on their stomach, heads almost together. Shamed, enraptured, she clung to the tree root with one hand and started down and stared down. D. What difficulties did the meat ant have to contend with in trying to get out of the reach of the ant lion? Answer. In trying to get out of the reach of the ant lion, the meat had to contend with the sand slope and with Max using his stick to push it down. E. Which words and expressions are used to describe the movements of the ant line? Answer is quick, dexterous, thrust, jerk, seized, hung on. To answer the following questions with reference to context. A. The two children sat up slowly, breathing again. 1. What had made the children hold their breath in the first place? The struggle of an ant trying to escape the ant lion had made the children hold their breath. 2. Why was it possible now for them to breathe again? The ant lion had caught and buried the ant. 3. What were their feelings after this? They feel a kind of guilt. Max read face perhaps suggests embarrassment or excitement, whereas Morvena's Morvena's open mouth suggests shock. B. Morvena gave a scream. If you do, Maxie, I will kill the lion. 1. What made Morvena scream? Morvena screams because Max goes to get a meat ant. 2. What is the line she refers to? The ant lion. 3. Why does she threaten to kill the lion? She threatens to kill the lion because she does not want to watch it eat any more ants. 4. Does she carry out her threat? And if not, how does she react to what Maxie does subsequently? No, she is fascinated and watches closely, although she tries not to be covering her eyes with her hands. See, the golden air should have been full of their shrieks and groanings. 1. What time of day was it? It was afternoon. 2. What sounds were there in the air, if any? The water flowing in the creek makes a noise. 3. Whose shrieks and groanings would these have been? Those of the ant lion and the meat lion. 4. Why should there have been any shrieking? The ant lion is attacking the meat lion. 5. What happened immediately after this? The meat lion dies. B. Working with words. 1. If you go through the passage carefully, you will find all the adverbs started but not completed below. Find them in the passage and notice the way in which they are used. Which verbs do they describe? When you have completed the words below, use them in sentences of your own. A. Slowly. B. Frenziedly. C. Frantically. D. Truly. E. Treacherously. F. Ruthlessly. G. Gingerly. H. Persistently. I. Uncertainly. J. Finally. Now come to the sentences. A. Slowly. He walked slowly to the kitchen and brought a cup of ice cream. B. Frenziedly. We rehearsed frenziedly the last few days before the dance competition. C. Frantically. He frantically thought about how to explain his theory in front of the audience. D. Truly. She truly wanted to help the poor family during the famine. E. Treacherously. Two policemen were treacherously assassinated at Lahore last night. F. Ruthlessly. The leader of the party is ruthless and will do anything to stay in power. G. Gingerly. My mother gingerly settled her body on the couch and watched TV. H. Persistently. I think you should persistently follow up with your family doctor. I. Uncertainly. My brother accepted the position without hesitation or uncertainty. J. Finally. I'm so happy to finally meet my old friend. 2. Read the following sentence. She thrust suddenly with the end of a twig, trying to push the ant up the shifting sand slope of the pit. A. Underline the three words in the sentence which show movement of some kind. B. Use the following words in sentences of your own. You may use two or more words in one sentence if you wish. 1. Throw. Don't throw litter in the park and keep your country clean. 2. Thrust. The postman thrust a letter into her hand and ran away. 3. Push. He pushed the table into a corner and cleaned the floor. 4. Shift. Could you help me shift some boxes in another room? 5. Shove. The opposing player said something and shoved him. 6. Heave. She heaved the sofa back into place after sweeping the floor. 7. Move. She fell on the road and broke her leg. Now she is unable to move her legs. 8. Budge. Could you try opening this box lid? I can't budge the lid. 9. Propel. He grabbed him and propelled him throughout the door. 10. Pitch. It was pitch black in the bedroom where I was supposed to stay for a night. 3. What are these words from the story? The letters are jumbled. Unscramble the letters and insert them in the appropriate blank spaces in the sentences on the next page. The words are spasmodic, frenziedly, persistently, dexterous, monotonous, dimensions. A. It was clear that the animal was going to die. Its breathing was spasmodic and its pupils were dilated. dilated. B. The trapped mongoose frenziedly tried to gnaw through the rope to get free. C. Khalid is persistently late for school. He seems to come late on purpose. D. With a dexterous flick of his wrist, the batsman turned the ball to the leg side for 4 runs. E. The scenery in the desert was dull and monotonous. The children were thoroughly bored by the time they reached the oasis. F. The plot was not large, but its dimensions were sufficient for a tennis court to be built on it. C. Learning about language, active and passive voice. See whether the verbs in the following are in the active or passive voice. A. Kabir wrote some fine poems in Sindhi. This is active voice. B. A long poem was planned by Kabir. This is passive voice. C. Kabir was inspired by many poets. Passive voice. D. His mother shared his love of poetry. This is active voice. E. His first book of poems was published last year. Passive voice. F. His parents were thrilled by this publication. Passive voice. G. Kabir's poems were loved and read widely. Passive voice. H. His companions have written to congratulate him. Congratulate him is active voice. 2. Write the following sentences in the passive voice. A. They sell tasty biscuits here. Tasty biscuits are sold here. B. He sold the bicycle yesterday. The bicycle was sold by him yesterday. C. A gardener plants the flowers and keeps the garden clean. The garden is kept clean and the flowers are planted by a gardener. D. Someone will send him a reminder soon. Soon he will be sent a reminder by someone. E. They are postponing the elections until next month. The elections are being postponed until next month. F. A committee will look into the matter. The matter will be looked into by a committee. G. Hillary and Tenzing conquered Mount Everest. Mount Everest was conquered by Hillary and Tenzing. H. Divers are bringing up treasures from the bottom of the ocean. Treasures are being brought up from the bottom of the ocean by divers. I. Something has eaten this cold cushion. This old cushion has been eaten by something. Thanks for listening. For new videos, don't forget to subscribe my channel. And if you like my videos, please share and like.